What's
Hey,
happening?
dude. All right, dude. After the last two live streams, it seriously took us like 10, 15 minutes to get it going.
Yeah,
So that's pretty awesome. How's your weekend going, man?
good. Pretty good so far.
Uh,
Just kind of been spending time trying to organize all this.
right.
So it is an ongoing battle to say the least.
How many martial heads are you up to right now?
I don't know. It's uh, it's somewhere in the 30s, I think, but uh, it's out of control because I'm picking them up like every time I find them. See, the problem is if you kind of look casually, you never find the deal.
Hmm.
And not only am I a collector, but I'm also like, yeah, I want a 69 plexi, but I'm not just gonna go on Reverb and buy it. Like that to me,
Right.
it's something weird mentally. Like it defeats the purpose of. It's really about hunting for it and like finding it. So like
Totally.
there may not be an interesting story with every piece, but it's either that I found a ridiculously good deal, or I came across something through a friend, or found something on tour, and that's usually how I pick them up. Um,
Right.
yeah, I mean, nobody wants to pay full price for anything, so I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I mean, we're talking about like, even for example, one of the JMPs back there, I picked it up off Reverb for like, I don't know, $1,300 or something like that. I mean, but look at it
That's
now.
that's
You
pretty damn
can't.
good.
It's impossible. So if you don't need it, you can just lowball the hell out of people and see if they'll take it. You
Right.
know, and Americans don't like haggling. They really don't. But I don't. It's just like the if you don't like it, just say no. I just
Yeah.
be polite, throw a number out there, and just keep creeping it up until they bite. You know? But
Yeah. The
I could.
the only
I
thing that
just look
huh?
24/7.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing that gets me is when people it's like people will approach you with a lowball offer, but they do it in a way that tells you they're not really used to negotiating at all.
Right.
Like the first message is just like, who was it? So somebody was just telling me that they had something listed. Somebody basically they made an offer at the list price, and that but also accompanied it with a message like, "Is this as low as you will go?" And like they were asking me, he's like, "Should I be a dick and just accept their offer?" Because they put the offer up for the list price
Right.
and just let them be stuck with it. It's like, "Yep, shipping out to you."
Yeah. Today's market is just it's inflated like crazy though. So I mean,
Oh
there's
yeah.
still deals out there, but you just have to look, and you have to look hard because people like me look every 20 minutes. So, um, but I'm an enthusiast about, and I like a very specific range of things too. So it's like I don't buy just any amp that comes up that's a good deal. Although I see them and I'm always like, well, I don't need another Fender or Mesa, but it's
Yeah.
where you gonna find it for this price.
Right.
I forgot where I was even going with that. Oh yeah, yeah. Like the Marshall cabs. Like the
Mm-hmm.
list price of a brand new Marshall cabinet is almost $2,000. The price of one
Wow.
cabinet today is less than when I bought a pair brand new in probably 2005 or six, something like that. And that's unreal. I think I bought, and I've only bought two Marshall cabinets brand new in my entire life. Um, yeah, it was like I think $1,400 for two of them for a full
Uh,
stack or something. And now you can't even get one cabinet for that. So I don't know what's going on.
yeah. Uh, I'm kind of like you, where most of the stuff I've ever acquired, I got as like some really awesome deal that I kind of looked and waited around for, and like all the stuff I've owned, ain't no way you're gonna find it on like Reverb or anything like that for what I paid for it. Like uh, the best score, the two of the best scores, one I still have, I got one of the Marshall Mode 4 cab. Yeah, the MF 400. Uh, I got one of
Nice.
those, and I scored it for $150.
Wow. That's a good
Like,
one.
it's like, yeah, the Tolex is a little beat up, but I mean, it's supposed to be. Um, or
Those are
like
great. The what are they, the G12K 100s, and that's what
yeah,
I think. I don't know if Kerry was doing them too, but I know Jeff had those as the Slayer background for or Slayer
right.
backline for a while.
I think
And
they like kind of rotated out between those and the 1960s. I think.
yeah,
Um, I do remember Kerry mentioning them at least one time in an interview. I don't remember what he had at that moment, but I mean, they can have it's some they always got some kind of Marshall cab out there, but uh, or like I got a Rev F dual rectifier, like one of the old two channels for like
mhm.
$600. Good luck
Oh man,
finding that. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But
and you know with the Mesa stuff, I feel like I mean it never went away for
yeah,
sure, but um, the availability of it, I think, is going to. I don't know what's going to happen with because Gibson bought them out now, but with
yeah,
Marshall pricing themselves kind of almost out of attainability. You know, it's like if you want vintage 30s in a cab and and the cab is $1,800 and you want two of them, I mean $3,600 plus the head, which is I mean you're talking what guy that's like or gal or whoever is 18 or 19 years old really wants to tour in a band. Where are they going to get $7,000-8,000 for a rig and plus your guitar? You know,
yeah,
like it's like in pedals and whatever. So you're talking like 10 grand just to get on stage and look cool. Like that's
yeah,
impossible. And so with the Mesa stuff, I don't know. I see the price kind of not jumping up in the same way. So I don't know. I kind of feel like that's going to be the next generation's thing. It's
yeah,
probably going to be if this continues, you know, with the prices going up. Just
yeah,
which I guess is not bad for American manufacturers, but I don't know.
yeah.
I've just always been a Marshall guy, you know. So it kind of pains me to see
Sure.
the stuff just go out of control in price.
Yeah, with I I can't tell if we've already seen it, like started to see it with Mesa or not, like with the Badlander. I don't know if you've checked those out or not, but
No.
it's supposed to be like Mesa trying to put everything into the dual rectifier that people kind of like do to it anyway. Like they've got the cab clone IR, so you can record direct with it and load IRs into it. It's got it's overall it's tighter. Like they did away with the tube rectifiers altogether, and it's just the solid state now.
Finally. I mean that's I love dual rectifiers, but it's the most useless feature on that amp. I mean, because
Right?
it's like nobody that wants to play metal buys a high gain amp to have a tube rectifier. And most people, I didn't know what it meant. You know, when we were young and the guys in the first couple bands I was in had them, you know, we were like, oh, well, the tube diode switch, well, tube must be better, right?
Right.
You know, not knowing that your response is going to be tighter with the diode rectifier. You know, that's just a weird option to have, and that could have brought that price down significantly back in the day because
Yeah.
nobody was using that stuff, and everyone picked them up. I think around the 2000s because they were booming. Like,
Oh yeah.
every band I remember looking at it, and I was actually a late bloomer to the Marshall sound because of this. Like, um, Crate was affordable growing up,
Yeah.
and in the metal magazines, you know, Hit Parader and Metal Edge and all that stuff, every band was always talking about Mesa, dual rack, triple rack,
Yeah.
and Cannibal Corpse had them. You know, I remember even bands like Cold Chamber were using. I
Yeah.
never was really into that stuff, but it just spanned the gamut of it. So,
Yeah. I mean,
Mesa's cool.
I mean, even though that there's, I'm a little bit younger, it still felt like it was kind of that same way for me coming up too. Like that's all you saw, like between a bunch of new metal bands that were still, all over the place. and then I was like kind of backtracking and getting into Cannibal Corpse, and you know, a lot of bands that use the rectifier. Strapping Young Lad was a big one for me in high school, and you know, Mesa was everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, at least Alan Holdsworth really liked the tube rectifier mode.
Yeah, I mean it's got its place for sure, but
I just
I've
always
never
thought that was
used
the funniest thing. I don't know why,
it. Yeah.
but uh, one last cool gear find, and then we'll start moving on to like some questions and stuff. But
Sure.
I actually saw it earlier, and I thought it was a funny coincidence. I saw it today when we are doing our interview. I saw a one of the Engel 530s for like a little over $400, like between $400 to $500 on Music Go Round. Which, if anybody's got that, you better go jump on it. Those things are cool.
I've got two of those too. So yeah, that's a cool. That's a really good deal because even I dealt with them when Angle. I dealt with Angle when I first joined Gwar because I didn't really know what my sound should be, for the band yet. And
Mm-hmm.
Corey was a friend of mine, and so I knew his sound, so I was trying to kind of like come in and not depart, do a completely 180 from that. So I stuck with Angle, and I used the E530s for a couple tours. And I've since gone back to just the
Sure.
Marshall. Those are interesting, man. A lot of gain, but you got to put them through the right rig because if
Yeah.
if you don't, I feel like the treble is out of control on that thing. Like, so if you have a speaker that's overtly bright, it's going to it's just gonna be bananas. Like I
Yeah.
record with one of them direct just because I don't have a like if the kids are in bed and I'm trying to record a guitar part, I have a E530 mounted in my rack right below me, and but yeah, I've got the treble on the gain channel turned to 0 because it's so bright.
Damn.
Yeah, but I'm a mid-range guy, so
The older I get, the more I tend to lean on the mids and lean more towards like EL34 kind of stuff. Like I've been I've been like salivating over a lot of Cameron and Monomyth and a lot of like modded Marshall kind of stuff out there. But
yeah.
I don't know. It just sits in a mix better. It sounds fuller. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I
uh
mean, to have like a philosophy on tone, it is interesting how much as guitar players we go through to like get this thing in our head to sound right coming out of a speaker. And then when you go into a studio, all that goes out the window. It's
yeah.
like, because what sounds good standing in front of it, doesn't necessarily translate when you stick the microphone in front of it. And then when you do this, like you just move the microphone an inch. I mean, it makes a huge impact on the way your guitar sounds. And
Right.
even trying tones for the new record, we just finished cutting the Gwar record. We were going through, I brought at least 10 amps over to the studio and I'm trying different things out. I brought 3 cabinets and, you know, playing all the same different amps through the same cabinet doesn't make as much of a difference as just changing the cabinet, changing the speaker. So that part is really interesting. So I think that as guitar players, I think we obsess a little too much sometimes. Uh, Obviously, we obsess too much, but
Right.
but yeah, it's like because even when you play live, they put a microphone in front of your cabinet, and then you play, and what comes out of the PA is not necessarily the way you hear it coming out, and then they've tailored it to
Yeah.
sit in the mix. So I kind of look at guitar in 2 different ways. I have the sound I rehearse. Well, I have the sound I rehearse with, which is usually sometimes pretty low gain, and then so I can hear my mistakes. And then when you're just having fun, you stomp on a metal zone and just go nuts. But then live, it's like I have it's not really a wet and a dry, but I have one amp that's pretty dirty. It's got some heavy distortion on it. That's kind of the one I want to hear more of. And then I've got another amp that's not as high gain. That's a lot more punchy and clear and defined. And I kind of mix the two together. But the real point is, if it sounds too dry and it's not sustaining quite enough to really hear it in your head, I at least want that to go out to front of house so that it sits in the mix a lot better and it's more defined. Because the more distortion you got, the more you're just going to be buried in the background. And I feel like it's a good element. It's a good element to have in this guitar. Too many bands, you've all seen it. You've all been to a death metal show, and you're so stoked about seeing it, and the sound is just garbage because you've just got. Sometimes you just got bands that are playing with way too much gain, and then a sound guy who really doesn't know how to mix it that well. And the combination of those two at the same time is just almost unbearable. I remember every show I went to when I was like 16, 17 years old. All I remember is kick drum and rumble and growl at a club called Twisters. So
Awesome. I've seen that with a lot of local death metal bands. Anymore, a lot of the, like when I've seen like Cattle Decap or Cannibal Corpse, they seem to have it pretty well dialed in, because Cannibal is just filthy saturated. I mean, it's almost, I kind of can't help but like smile and maybe even chuckle a little bit because of how like ridiculous the tone is, but it's awesome. It's like a really fun, just over the top kind of tone. You know what I mean?
It had a long time to get it right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I really like, I'm a huge fan of the way Rob Barrett plays,
Yeah.
And that's him just rocking a Mesa stack is awesome. So
Have you got to see them with Eric yet?
I have not. No, I toured with Eric before, and yeah, he was doing like a Hate Eternal kind of revamp thing. I think this was like in 2010 or 2014 or something.
Yeah.
And that was really cool to see that. It was an interesting tour to say the least.
He's a beast, but I've seen Corpse I think 3 times now, and obviously twice with Pat, but the third time was with Eric, and it was like on that one of the last legs of the Slayer farewell tour. And man, Eric absolutely killed it. It was a really, really well, like really good fit, honestly.
Yeah, he's known those guys for forever. They've been doing the last couple records with him.
Yeah, I would say he's produced at least a handful, I think.
I've seen, because as a kid, I saw him on one of the Morbid Angel tours, and that was the first time I knew who he was. And then followed Hate Eternal after that. I was actually surprised that he joined up because as all the work he gets as a recording engineer and producer,
right,
over at Mana Studios. So, but yeah, good for him. Good for the band. It's
right.
nice to have a familiar face on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, for Mr. Pat though. That's insane.
I kind of hope that I feel like he's gonna pick up something new eventually. Like it might be a little too far gone with Corpse by that point. By the time he gets everything, all dust clears and all that. But I don't know. I want to see him do something again at some point whenever he gets his stuff sorted out.
I would hope so. Hope so. Yeah, I mean, it's surprising to me to see people party that hard at that age. No offense to old dudes, but man, you really got to slow down at some point.
Yeah.
And if you don't, I think the consequences are pretty apparent. Not so much that the fire that he lost everything to. I definitely wouldn't wish that on anybody. But just one of the biggest consequences of partying is you lose your gig. and
Right.
a lot of it's just straight up business. Like if you get I don't know if a lot of people know this, but if you get a DUI in the United States, you're never going to Canada ever again. Like
Hmm.
unless you're making like crazy money and can pay, a team of lawyers to deal with the consulate and the whoever the government up there you have to get rehabilitated, to go across the border. And the same with violence charges. If you get drunk at a bar and somebody talks shit and you smack them, rightfully so.
Yeah.
If you get assault, there's lots of countries, that aren't going to let you in. You
Hmm.
get caught dealing drugs. I know for like New Zealand, nope, not going there. Not like a lot of us are going to tour New Zealand anytime soon, but
Right.
it's that stuff. It's important because if you spend your whole life trying to perfect this craft and you want to take it and bring it out to the rest of the world and have fun doing it, those small things are going to have a big impact on your ability to do that. So
I believe it.
I hope some people take that wisdom and do whatever they want with it.
Right. I I've had a couple experiences that really made me reevaluate my partying, and it's quite a few years behind me at this point. So I'm planning to keep it that way. It's no fun. It's no fun losing friends and not remembering why.
Yeah, that happens too. Another,
Yeah.
another side effect.
But yeah. Enough about moping about all partying fiascos. Uh, so on this, I guess it was your all's most recent one, the Scumdogs anniversary tour. Um, with and you all had Napalm Death and I Hate God along with you. I actually caught you all at the Cincinnati show at Bogart's.
Mm.
I was there interviewing John. Um, man, your tone, from like videos and stuff online, I kind of got used to a somewhat low gain, but still like fairly heavy and crunchy, like Marshall sound. It sounded so much more aggressive live. Maybe just
Yeah.
the power tube saturation kicking in at those volumes, but it really cut through the mix. It sounded heavy. All the leads just sounded exactly where they were supposed to be. Which heads did you bring along with you for that tour?
So that was in thank you for the compliment. That's awesome. That was my favorite sound that I've ever had on the road. And so for my main head that I've been touring with uh, since I got it from Marshall, I got a 2203 reissue head. Um, and I think I got that around 2014 or so. And I've paired various heads with it over the years. I think the first time I was still using the angles too, in addition with that Marshall when I first got it. And then I retired the angles. I brought out. We were in this another gear story. I was in the studio recording using a 2204, like a 50-watt JC 100 from 1987, and something happened, and I don't know what went wrong in it, like a tube blew or something, and it actually got to the point where it popped the speaker lead out of the cabinet. Like
Oh
we had
wow.
to tape it shut, and then when we ran it again, it something in the head blew up. It was the
Hmm.
coolest sound on the record. I think we were recording "I'll Be Your Monster" or something. So I ended up buying I called my friend and I was like, dude, I really need to borrow your amp. Like it's a pair. Because he had the same one, the same year and everything.
Okay.
And I took that back to the studio, finished the record, and he offered to sell it to me for like $500 or $600, no brainer. So I bought that
Right.
from him, and I actually took that amp and mine, which were, I mean, they're the same year, same everything, but one sounded slightly different than the other. So I went in and measured every component in my favorite one and copied all that stuff over to the other one. And we're mainly talking a few different values, and most of it's probably value, like the components drifted in value a little bit. So I cloned one. I left my original one intact. Like I didn't drill any holes in that one, but I drilled in the back of the other one and added an effects loop to it.
Okay.
Same with the 2203 reissue. That comes with an effects loop, but I don't like the way they designed it. I don't like how it functions.
Yeah.
Like if you turn the master volume up on the 2203 reissue,
Mm-hmm.
the signal level on your send rises with it. It really should be the other way around. Like your effects loop should be before your master volume. So when your effects return comes in, the
Mm-hmm.
only thing in front of that should be the master. So that way, I mean, like if you were slaving a head or something and you turn your master up, it would be cranking it on the other head. So you would have
Yeah.
independent volume control. 5150s do the same thing. But anyway, put a different loop in that. And that I did that for a couple years, but I was really just running two of the same head. So I wasn't really getting the texture I really, really wanted. So this tour, I had modified one of those Laneys over there in the back. It's an AOR, and the Doom guys are going to hate this, but I took all of the things that made it a Doom amp and did away with them. So I copied basically built a Super Lead and a JCM 800 in the same amp. So kind of have the best of both worlds. And on that tour, I ran that Laney like you would run like a 4-holer JMP, a Super Lead. So it wasn't, or like a hot rodded JMP. So still not as distorted as, you know, a modern high gain amp, but really all the notes were just clear and defined and everything. Yada yada. I know I'm blabbing. People that don't like guitar stuff are like, Jesus Christ. So so I ran that one with just a regular stock tube screamer. I think it was a Maxon OD808. And then for the Marshall, I ran a Maxon OD9. And the OD9, to get technical, is the same as the TS9, the OD808. The only difference is it does not have like the JFET buffer circuit in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it does something with there's no additional load on your guitar signal. So what some people refer to as tone sucking or whatever.
Yeah.
So without that, you actually have a little bit of a volume boost in there. So you have more, there's more signal to be bumped up with the OD9. But the distortion, for all intents and purposes, is the same. But I didn't know that when I bought it. I just bought it because I like green pedals. I like green tube screamers.
Right.
And I plugged it in on tour, and I was like, Jesus Christ! Like, is this thing? Is this like a Boss SD1? Is this got asymmetric plug? I had no idea what it was. I just know it sounded way more aggressive than a regular tube screamer. Just kept it around. But like I said, so with that two tone thing, I wanted two similar but different sounds to come out of each cabin. Yeah. And then of course for leads and stuff, it was like just a carbon copy delay and an MXR, a micro course.
Oh, okay.
Same as like Richie Faulkner or whatever.
Yeah.
But that and those delays, what's interesting about the rig is it's not necessarily a complicated rig until you get to how it's all put together. Mm-hmm. I mean, literally, it's overdrive amp. That's it. That's the main sound. There's nothing else running at the same time. And but in the effects loop, I'm running both amps like completely independent, so they're not sharing anything except for like the wah pedal in the front. So I have two delay pedals, two chorus pedals, and they're all sitting in a rack, and I use those Voodoo Labs switchers or whatever to bring them in and out of the loop, whenever I step on a foot controller.
Right.
So I only had all the effects are on all the time, but none are actually in the signal path until I hit the button.
Gotcha. Uh, how do you? I mean, do you like? Is everything just blended, like straight down the middle, or do you just
As
switch back and forth between different things?
uh, as far as like the sound coming off the stage, or
Oh wait, I'm sorry. You were saying one's more for front of house, right?
well, I mean, I leave that up to whatever the sound engineer does on it. It's like I kind of as you're behind the PA, so it's like I got
Yeah.
really no opinion on
Yeah.
what's happening on the other side. It's like you use your best judgment
Hmm.
to do that. And the only thing I ask for is obviously it's got to sit in the mix first and foremost.
Sure.
But sometimes I'll go out and I'll listen for a little bit, like at sound check or something, and I'll just say, I want more body or I want more definition here. I don't want to be, you know, roll some of the high end off or something. And for all musicians out there too, I would strongly recommend trying to learn what things are when people say like, man, that 7K is too high, or can you give me a little cut at 400? Like it took me forever to figure that out.
Yeah.
I was touring for years and people would always say all this like numbers and shit around me. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you guys are talking about. But it's kind
Yeah.
of the same way we interpret like things like warm and woofy and
Right.
sparkly, and like we've associated these terms, grit, dirt, we've associated them in our head with actual sounds, and they're descriptive words that help us learn that stuff. And it's
Yeah.
really just like the numbers are the same thing. It's just like a certain frequency or whatever. And I think part of having a good guitar tone is just knowing uh, what is getting in the way. You know, like bass sounds great on guitar, but it gets in the way of other
Yeah.
stuff. And if it gets in the way of other stuff, you're just going to be the one that gets turned down. Some people aren't going to take the same type of care to, you know, that guitar player's tone is so amazing. I got to make sure he's heard. Hell no. The engineers, they're worried about the band.
Yeah.
So if you want it to translate well, it's like you got to kind of have to figure that out, or as much of it out as possible before you send it out, send it off the stage. Because, even still, I get told to turn down all the time.
It is funny how guitar, probably a little bit more than any other instrument, is so capable of just trudging over everyone else's frequencies.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
like it just covers so much space, or it can if you don't really hone it in. But in college, I had to do a jazz combo, and I was doing guitar. There was a piano. There was a sax. Like there were three or four instruments that were literally just all right there in the same space. So that was a little tricky when we actually had to go perform for people. But
Oh, man.
so okay.
I see Muddy. Hey, Muddy. Comment. Pusty plays the Black and Huge solo. Thank you. That's one of my favorites to hear Pusty play as
So when you're coming into a band that has like a long history like Gwar, I know you brought your own riffs and stuff to the table. Is there a lot of thought going into, well, does this sound like Gwar, or is it just a little bit more informal than that? Like this is a cool riff. It's not too out there, and everybody just likes it.
well. It depend. It really just depends on each situation. I kind of feel like what makes a song a Gwar song really is just the combined input of the group.
Hmm.
So I don't think that I could hear too many riffs that I would think that couldn't be a Gwar riff,
Hmm.
but it really takes the participation of the group, and that's what in turn gives it that sound. And
Yeah.
like so when I was just writing music younger in my younger days, there was a lot about Brad or Jizmac DeGush's playing that I really, really liked, and I liked it way beyond like what Gwar was doing. Just like I wanted to incorporate that stuff in other music because I was just playing in like metal, like death metal bands, really for the longest time. But there were just like these things with the snare and these double hits, like a pop pop, where you hit. There's one hit followed by a double stick. Just like little stuff like that always stuck out in my head. So, and the kind of patterns that he used. So I ended up inadvertently kind of writing like that already,
Hmm.
just because I liked that style. And I
Yeah.
thought it could work outside of that group. And so when I came in, there were a lot of songs that I just kind of brought to the group, and immediately, he would play over them, and I would go, "That's exactly how I wrote it in my head. You're playing the exact beat, and I didn't even have to. All I did was show him the riff." So that was kind of cool to already be that much in sync. That doesn't happen every time,
Yeah.
but it's. I mean, there's a lot of talented writers in this band, and I think, yeah, the only time stuff really does sound a little stiff is when you know one person has an idea that's just all in, you know, and I'm the most guilty of that because I'll bring in songs that are like, "Oh, I finished it. It's done. Everything front to back," and I'll bring it to the table, and they'll be like,
Yeah.
"Can we change this part?" I'm like, "Why? What do you mean? What do you mean change it? It's already finished. There's no reason to change it." But part of being in a band is like accepting that's okay, to
Yeah.
to step back and let things get turned upside down and flipped all around. And um, it's hard. It's hard for me to let go of stuff at certain times, because I'll write something with such a strong feeling or emotion behind it, like this is the concept, and but it ends up being better when it's all said and done. But there is stuff you do have to fight for, like hey, this is a thrash song. Don't sing quiet. You get pissed off. Like, do you want me to kick you in the nuts before you go sing it?
Yeah.
Or like, imagine your childhood dog, and I'm choking that dog, and I'm kicking it at the same time. Now I'll go sing a song. Sing this song. But I mean, but that's a real thing too. Just that part is important. But whatever, man. Gwar is such a weird thing that you can kind of get away with whatever. I would love to see the band do even more absurd, just genre changes. Like yeah, I like playing old school country music and finger picking and stuff like that. But I've got no outlet to do it, and
Yeah.
not that I'm gonna like go to Nashville and join a country band anytime soon. I don't like it that much,
Right.
but it would be. I think it would be funny for Gwar to do something like that again. But do it like like one of the other jokes I had was we should just cover Freebird, but like, but not even like not like we did the Kansas song. Like, no, cover Freebird like seriously, note for note, like. And I think that would be the joke, is that like they didn't metal this up at all. Like,
Right.
why did they do this? Just to waste time.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm kind of picturing it. Um, I, I can't remember Blothar's real name.
Michael Bishop.
But yes, I watched the TED Talk. I should have remembered that, but um, I was just trying to picture his, or trying to imagine his voice doing Freebird. It's pretty awesome.
Now he's got. I mean, when it comes to stuff like that, I mean, he's got a really really good voice, and we're always ribbing him and stuff on tour to like, man, you got to sing louder. Like, it's a what are we always saying? Like, oh, it's a dick, not an ice cream cone. Like, put it in your fucking mouth. Put it in your mouth. And he's always just like, shut the fuck up. Because I mean, he doesn't sing super loud, and there's a lot going on stage, so it's
Yeah.
always a challenge to like to mix because you've got all this background noise hitting the microphone at the same volume as your vocals are. And but man, when it comes, I mean, you can really hear it on that acoustic stuff we did. Like the way he sings "Gonna Kill You" is like way different than Brocky did, and he's just got this like I don't even know how you would describe it, but just this twang in his voice, you know. And we're all from Virginia, you know, the
Yeah.
South, I guess. And I don't really think I have a super huge accent, but you know, you can hear it in the way he sings, which is cool because I don't think he's got a thick Southern accent either. But um, that twang is in our blood, I guess.
Well, I'm just from a little up north from you. I'm from West Virginia, and
Oh,
uh,
okay.
and I got a brother-in-law in Virginia, and we go down there frequently. So I get
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Uh, oh, screensaver. Um, shit. Made me lose my train of thought. Damn you, computer. Uh, nah, I think you gotta push for that Freebird cover though.
I think it'd be
Personal.
fun. I mean, Skinner is uh, Leonard Skinner is an amazing band. It's just I think a
Sure.
lot. I'm sick of it because I've heard it every fucking day on classic rock radio, working, you know, 7 to 3:30 job, construction job, my whole life. So it's like there's a certain point where you're like, oh my god, I don't need to hear this song again, and which is unfortunate because those Street Survivors and all those other records are amazing. They're just
Yeah.
overplayed to death.
Oh,
And
sure. Absolutely.
that's kind of the way I felt about Maiden for so long, which is like, you know, yeah, I like Iron Maiden. You know, I'm a fan. I wouldn't say like they're my favorite band of all time by any means, but
Sure. Yeah.
I was like, I listened to him so much though. It was like Aces High and the Trooper. Everyone played the Trooper and Hallowed Be Thy Name and stuff. All these different shows and stuff we went to,
Hmm.
and then like Children of Bodom covered the Trooper, and I was just like, dude, Maiden is the Skinner of metal. Like, it's amazing, but I've heard it
Yeah.
way too many times, and
Right.
now I'm sick of it. You know, so I've actually had to like even with Skinner, it's like I just had to step away from it for forever, you know, and then you can kind of come back to it and all that stuff's fresh again. So yeah, when I hear like Maiden now, it's like it's more refreshing because I don't seek it out and I don't listen to it every day. So when it does pop on the rotation, if I'm
Yeah.
listening to something on the shuffle, it is cool to hear those licks again.
I uh I kind of had the same thing happen with AC/DC for me. Like I went years where, I mean, as a kid, I loved them, and then I pushed it away forever. And then, like as of a few years ago, rediscovered like Bon Scott era AC/DC, and I'm like, okay, this is really sick, like undeniably sick.
It's the Bon Scott stuff is the greatest. I mean, he was a little bit more twisted. Uh,
Yeah,
he's just vulgar, you know, and all those stuff. And they were I mean, they were a pub band. They were playing clubs in Australia for all those years. And that's where they kind of, I guess, honed their skills. And so you know, I mean, they wrote a lot of great songs with shit. What is his name? Um, Funny Hat Guy.
oh, Brian Johnson.
They wrote a lot of great songs with him. But you know, he just his voice was cool, but he doesn't have that personality that Bon Scott did. You know,
Yeah.
so it was different. But I mean, it's and he's one of the artists where I'm not I'm not so jazzed up listening to those tunes on the record, but I really like hearing them live and hearing and just
Yeah.
seeing them perform, seeing him perform and stuff like that. Because that was just I don't know. They had that. What is it? That DVD that came out. They played
Donington?
Yes, yes, the Donington Fest. Dude, the tour dates are in the liner notes for that DVD or whatever. Just
Okay.
look at those dates if you get a chance. That
That's the-
was a solid year of
oh
straight
shit.
touring, maybe a few weeks off here and there. Like,
My dad has that DVD, and I want to say like at like middle school ish, going into high school. I must have watched that DVD with the stereo like cranked up. I don't know how many times. Um, something ridiculous. That was probably why I had to go years without AC/DC. Um, I was just
Those
laughing at
tours,
it.
so those tour
Huh?
schedules blow my mind. Like to hear, or just to see that, because the only bands I can remember touring like that are them and like bands like Metallica, um, which obviously not anymore. But I don't even at 30. I'm 38, so I'm still too young to have really been in that scene. When they were like crushing it in like
Hmm.
88, 89, 90. But I mean, Metallica was, people might forget, but they toured like relentlessly. I mean, it was like months at a time, 3 months. Like 3 months is a short tour. Today, 7 weeks, people are rolling their eyes. Like, that's like barely 2 months. Oh my God, I got to go out for that long. It's a different world. And I don't like
Yeah.
touring that long. But man, those guys, they put the
Right.
work in, and it shows. Whether or not
Yeah.
we like the new Metallica sound, uh, they did their part. They're at where they're at
Yeah.
for a reason.
I will say anytime I watch videos of recent years, Metallica just playing their classics and stuff live. Uh, I mean, it still sounds cool. You know what I mean? Like they're still Metallica. Um, Newer music, like actual newer albums, it's like, man, yeah, whatever. It's like, it's like
I don't
they're
think
all.
I've heard anything since that song "I Disappear." I think is the most recent one.
Oh God.
Just because it was on like, I just remember
Yeah.
they're in the desert or something, and
Yeah.
everyone was saying something weird about the snare.
They're just like randomly on top of this like rock formation in the middle of a desert.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like the cliche music video setting.
yeah.
And
That was like the dying breath of like MTV and all that stuff. Really, like
mm,
the death gasp, or before they would pretty much do away with hard rock music videos altogether.
yeah. Uh so I will say about later era Metallica, that last one, Hardwired, it was the best they've probably done since doing the hard rock thing. Like it was them like just trying to do like a thrashier kind of record again, like
Hmm.
kind of throwing it back to more like Ride the Lightning kind of shit. Uh, and at this point, it's like they like they're not young and pissed off. They're old and rich
Yeah,
and have nothing to be angry about anymore. So it's like at that point, it's just don't think about it. Just like kind of riff, you know.
yeah,
When they did that whenever they did Death Magnetic, they were trying to do some super long masterpiece like Justice for All again. And spoiler, they don't have that in them anymore. It just like there were some songs that actually would have been pretty cool if they had cut them in half. Like All Nightmare Long is actually, I mean, it's got some really catchy parts to it. You know, it's not a bad song. It just goes on way too fucking long, and it just repeats. It's not like there's like 20 to 30 riffs that you have to hear and that build
yeah.
up. It's just like, how many fucking times do you want to hear the chorus and verse? You know, like,
Three.
I don't know, but uh, all right. So yeah, back to songwriting and riff writing. Guar's always, if you look at like the entire span of Gwar, I mean, their sound fluctuates so much. You know, you could pretty, like you said, there's not too much that wouldn't constitute
Hmm.
as a Gwar riff at this point. Uh, I think since you kind of joined the band, it actually kind of threw it back to a little bit more like Motorhead era rock and roll, little bit of D beat kind of stuff thrown in there. A little bit of like what you would do with U.S. Bastards, a little bit of that kind of thrown in. Which
Yeah, I'm really excited for this new one to kind of come out and for everyone to, I mean, because if you think about the Gwar history, uh, Battle Maximus, I had just come in, I just joined, uh, they were still getting over the death of Ford, and mo- a majority of that record was already written prior to me coming in. So I came in with I think 3 or 4 songs, and one of the songs is what kind of helped me land the job because it was like uh, they were like, well, you could play all the tunes. Well, what do you write like? I was like, well, I wrote this song yesterday, but I got this other one I wrote this morning, so check this out. So they liked both of them, and that was Madness at the Core Time, and then Bone Snapper. Um, so, but anyway, the challenge was dealing with the death of your friend. And
yeah,
then when we go to do the next record, same thing. It was like getting over the death of Rocky, like trying to prove not only to our fans but to ourselves, like, or like we know we can do this. Can we really do this? Like, what happens when we put everybody together? So if you look at it, the same band that did Battle Maximus is not the same band that did Blood of Gods, and that is not the same band that just did this record now that will be coming out this year. But those challenges and stuff, those hurdles to jump over are not there, So, but again, we do find ourselves in the position where you do have to put out something where um, you can kind of encapsulate like this is a snapshot of the group as it
mhm,
sits. Here you go. Like that's
yeah,
what you're gonna give to the world. Um, and if you want to talk about like, there's outside pressures, producers, labels, managers, whatever. I don't give a fuck about any of that stuff. Like not at all. So it's like I get the vision, that we need to have some type of package to present, and I do think it should accurately represent the band. Those pressures don't exist for me as a writer, because I really don't care. Like I do this because I want to. I really love playing with those guys. I believe in what Gwar does, and the whole lineage, the whole history, the future of it. So my number one goal is to write music that we like playing together and to put that out. So I think if you simplify that stuff, like we couldn't do that on those other 2 records. I couldn't even be in that mindset. It was like there is real pressure, but for this one, I don't feel like there really was. The only pressure was to get out of the studio before we ran out of money.
well, Guar is through all the theatrics and the actual showmanship has been always been a very genuine band, and I think it's kind of always came across, and that's probably why it's lasted as long as it has. So I'd say that would give you a lot of freedom and even incentive to kind of just write what you guys like, do whatever makes you all happy, because that's kind of what people are there to hear in the first place. So
Yeah,
it's kind of
and
cool
plus
that
it's
hmm?
been years since we
Yeah,
were able to release that one. So that's my other thing is like fucking Christ, let the thing out.
right.
Let people hear this for once. And so I haven't even heard the mixes yet. I think I should probably get something this weekend, but
Nice.
it's about time, and it does cover uh, a large span, I guess, of like stuff, experiments. There's some shit on there you're not gonna like, but there's some stuff on there you will, and um, I wouldn't say it's a variety album by any means, but it is definitely a Gwar album, and just by that I mean, it's not like you're gonna have this sectional thing where it's like, okay, they've got 4 metal songs, 2 funny songs, and 2 of this song. It's just kind of like it's all one thing But even
Yeah.
though there are some tunes on there that are going to be a little bit more abstract than stuff we've done before, and we were trying not to like continue anything that we've done before. You know, like, well, we did this long instrumental piece on the last couple. Let's do something like that. Like, no, 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 no. We didn't even think. We didn't really even think in those terms. It was just like we just have 25 songs. How can we condense that?
Yeah.
Put it out? But I, as soon as it comes out, I want to go back in and start writing some more because we do have more tunes on the table. But and part of that thing where I was saying like you have to put this package together and give it out to the world so they can kind of digest what this is and what this band is. A lot of the songs that I want to record, if they were all together, you would just have a straight up thrash album, which may or not be a bad thing, but that doesn't represent what the group is at this moment in time. You know, that just represents like, you know, I want to write 10 thrash songs. So,
Right.
um, so hopefully, maybe we'll see some stuff like that coming out sooner. Uh, but yeah.
Somebody in the chat asked earlier. I almost forgot about it. Is there anything going on or potentially could go on with U.S. Bastards, or is that just kind of shelved for the foreseeable future?
Um, you know, it's I wish I could say yeah. Like we've written, I've written a lot of stuff for it, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, honestly, it's like we we got off a tour, and you know, it was actually I think the first tour that I'd done like sober, and it really just put a lot of elements of the band in focus that I didn't couldn't see before. And one of them was just like, you know, we were playing bigger stages, and all of a sudden the sound that we had that really worked in these like small clubs and these bars and being loose and way too fast and all that stuff, it just all of a sudden didn't translate when we went on a bigger stage, at least in my opinion. And then I just kept looking at myself going like, well, I really phoned it in writing the lyrics on this song. This song is great, but it doesn't have a hook, you know, and all these just like different things, different just problems with the band. Um, so I just kind of hit the reset button and was just like, I got to make this right. We come back out of the game, but we can still be fast, we can still be hard and heavy, but I'd rather you walk away with a chorus you can remember to
Yeah.
sing along to and stuff like that. Some of the songs like "You're Gonna Fucking Die" are great. You know, that's what I really like. You know, it's simple. It's kind of it's a little ignorant. You know, and then but songs like "OG Rock Villain," which is like that to me is like a missed opportunity. It's the chorus is awful. You know, it's it's not uh it misses what could be a more impactful point, you know. And
Hmm.
as a writer, I think
The,
that
the main
I
riff is sick
was,
though.
huh?
The main riff is sick though. So.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, you know, and it might not be terrible. You're your own worst critic, but in my eyes, as a writer, I didn't do as good of a job as I could have because at the time I was more concerned about just getting stuff across the finish line than actually like what it was, you know. I spend more
Yeah.
time writing a guitar solo than trying to write a lyric because I'm like, well, what does it matter? I'm just yelling and screaming. And then, of course, when we get like a year later and listen back to it with fresh ears, oh man, like, I could have
Right.
done better. I could have not drank in the studio that day. You know, I could have practiced more. And it's just like so. Anyway, the next Bastards record, I just want it to be fucking awesome and blow people away. And the other slow part is mainly I'm just writing slow on it with commitments to Gwar and stuff. But two, it's really hard to kind of find people in Richmond that are on the same page with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, one, you know, just you got to hear the old stuff and know that that's not exactly what I'm trying to do anymore. And then two, just I don't think of Richmond as a very rock and roll town, despite all of the musical elements and bands that come out of here. it's a lot more just metal and punk, and which is it's all the same at the end of the day, really. But there's a flair and a style with rock and roll that, you know, if you play too fast, you're gonna lose it. If you hit too hard all the time, you lose it. It's really just the dynamic and the swing of the whole thing. You know, like if you and that's what Bastards was doing before. We were playing on 10 the entire time. But like 10 isn't interesting if you don't bring it back to like 6, 7, 5. Bring that intensity level down, bring it up and down, and then do hit the fucking song that's like, you know, 250 beats per minute, and you're just blaring through it. Like, then it's a big deal because you kind of like raised and lowered this bar as the set progresses. But it's gonna be violent. the the lyrical content. Um, you know, we talked about Metallica um, not getting to this point where not angry about anything or whatever. It's like, well, I'm still pissed off. So and you know, there's really just because I can't act I can't function in a society the way I really want to. Otherwise, you get ostracized and run out and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So the lyrical content of the new Bastard stuff is really just a very truthful expose of how I really feel inside. I
I
want
get
to rob people at gunpoint,
it.
you know, piss in church and stuff like that.
Right?
Yeah, there was some songs I wrote where a lot of people owed me a lot of money, and I was very upset about it. I talked to an attorney, and he was like, "What are you gonna do? You gonna pay me $1,500 to go get $2,000?" He's like, "You might as well just write a song about it." I'm like, motherfucker, I'm pissed because you know, you just set up for defeat. That's really all you can do. Write a song about it. Get pissed off.
Well, well, fuck you, Nelson, be on there?
I hope so. Yeah, still working on that one. And you know that's dude, I wrote that in like I wrote it in my head on the way home, just like I was fucking screaming in the truck. Fuck you, Nelson! Like, what the fuck is your problem? And then I got home and I just went right to the studio and picked up a guitar and just literally did the whole song in probably less than an hour. You know,
That's
and
awesome.
I like these exercise. When you feel it, man. You got to go for it and stuff like that. Man. And that's everything. That's the lyrics. That's the solo. That's programming the drums. You know, it was like.
Yeah.
And then the next day, I went out and filmed the video because I wanted it to be like. I mean, there's sincere anger, man. It's not. I'm not being angry to be funny. You know, it's like
Right.
legitimately, I have a gripe about what's happening, but. I do feel like as upset as I really get inside, I think that is kind of funny because I really like it when people are upset. Now you're learning all kinds of new things about me.
Yeah.
But if somebody's like having a terrible day and because like just stuff is their car is breaking down and they're miserable, it's really fun. It's not my problem. And
Right.
and so I kind of feel like that's the other side of the coin. It's like if you see me getting all pissed off, it's not your problem, you know. And it should be. I would think it was funny that somebody else is upset. So I try to at least put a little humor in that, and that's like in that video and stuff.
I
But there's genuine malice there. Did you hear all the lyrics in it?
I
Like,
did. It's been a minute since I watched it. I remember when you uploaded it, I went and watched it. I remember laughing a pretty good bit about it, just because I could relate to it so much. Like, because we've all had shit from like our professional lives that we're just
oh yeah,
like it's almost like you can't, like, there's nothing you can really do about it to an extent, and you're just so pissed off and have to
I
get off.
almost didn't put it out because of how unprofessional that is. It's a real person. You know, it's like I kind of figured I was like maybe I was like he's too old to have an Instagram account. He'll never see this. But but yeah, I was like, but his coworkers will. Are they gonna
Hmm.
think less of me that I can't keep my trap shut? About internal gripes. But like
Right.
the dude survived. He survived COVID. I don't know how old the guy is. 80, 70, whatever.
Oh
He
wow.
survived COVID. He survived. He got cancer from Agent Orange in Vietnam. He survived that.
God
Um,
damn.
and then the cancer, then the COVID, and all this other stuff. So I was just like, and the fact that I'm still correcting this guy's cheap mistakes, I was like, why aren't you just go already? Just die. So that was like the
Like, is
line,
this what
like,
you survived for?
yeah, it's like that's what's the line was a Vietnam vet, Agent Orange ain't get you yet. I pray every day for your cancer to come and take you away. Like that's evil. That's dark. It's
Like I
not
said,
for
it's been a while. I've completely forgotten, but oh my god, that's awesome.
I don't know. I mean, I would hope that the over the top, just like
Yeah.
bile that would come out and stuff like that. That's what I hope is like the extreme reaction to a situation that's very unextreme. Um, but yeah,
I
that's that's
no
what I
judge
like, man.
no
That shit's
judgment here
fun.
because I literally do the exact same thing. Um,
Yeah,
like just pieces of shit at my work, and I won't go into detail about what
yeah.
I have said,
Where do you work?
but yeah. But no, I've said equally. I think everyone does it with with some of your work buddies. There's like just this one asshole
Oh
that you
yeah,
just can't stand, and you see them get away with all this stuff, and you're just like, can you believe this guy? Like, and then just expletives and horrible things that make you question whether you're a good person or not.
yeah.
Just
Well,
come
and
out.
that's where bands like Gwar come in, and Bastards as well, where
Yeah,
it's like you have this platform where you can say what you want to say and get away with it
yeah.
because like the stuff that you can say now, it follows you around forever, because if you
Hmm.
say it online, there is a stamp in time, and then at any point in time, that screenshot can come back.
Oh yeah.
And it doesn't matter the context, doesn't matter what you were feeling that day. And I don't think this is a good thing, but and at the same time, you people still talk the same kind of shit. Now we just do it in smaller groups.
Yeah.
It's like the opinions that people have that are very un PC, or even if most of the time it's just like, like you said with buddies at work, you're venting about something.
Yeah.
You're probably going a little overboard of how you're really gonna deal with it or react to it, but that's like it's just
Yeah.
you getting shit off your chest with your
Yeah.
buddies. But so
It's
that's
cathartic.
we're using music to do that on a wider scale, basically.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. I I would rather like people have that kind of outlet. I wish more people would do that as opposed to all of this. It's like I don't know. It's like nobody wants to. Everyone wants a bubble. You know what I mean?
Mm,
And everybody wants to not just repress other people and censor other people, but like themselves too. It seems it's just like you're allowed to be human. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But I digress.
goes back to
Uh,
one of my favorite bands of all time,
I can't
the
see who is that.
Mentors.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's just like that. You like a band like that could not exist today in
No.
any way, shape, or form. Like it, and I'm sure people don't like the fact that I celebrate that. I celebrate their time. Um, but it really is absurd, and like the stuff that he sings about, like El Duce, um, he tried to paint this picture in the 80s and 90s before his death that that everything was all serious, and then the whole, but it wasn't. It was never serious. The whole shock
Right.
rock thing, it was to draw attention to it, and the 90s daytime television ate that shit up like crazy because there was
Oh yeah.
you have this whole subset of America that has no idea that there's this underground music scene going on, and they just want uh, to show you these things and be like, "This is shocking. This is what our country is turning into." You
Right.
don't have any clue because you're in a safe place in Iowa, but it's coming to your town and it's gonna influence your kids if we don't stop it now. And that sold a lot of records, you know.
Right.
But just something I was listening to the Mentors today. One of the lines he said in the song was like um, something about like him being like a stud, and then like in the next, or a handsome guy, and then in the next line he's like, you know, talking about something like, I want to go down there, a big bald man with no hair. So it's like there is a lot of self-deprecating stuff in there that really clues you into like his thought
Yeah.
process. Like he's being funny, you know, he's being facetious in a lot of ways.
Sure.
It's not serious. Like when he's, I doubt the guy is having threesomes with models like he's singing about. But I digress. Just, my wife
I
knows
don't.
all the lyrics to Kings of Sleeves, so.
I, I do wonder about some acts like from back in the day, like how they would do now. Like G.G. Allen and Frank Zappa and some of these guys. It's like I have a hard time telling if they would be um, celebrated or if they would just be completely just blocked out. It's so hard to tell these days. Like there might be
Yeah,
an art crowd of hipsters that glorify G.G. Allen to being like this brilliant, deep mind who is
I think it's great. I
it's
think it's one of
performance.
the it's one of the to me that's real rock and roll. You know, it's this dedication that he
Yeah,
has to it that no one else is gonna live that way for their music. Um,
he's the epitome of punk rock,
yeah,
and you know what I mean. Like there's literally no one more punk than G.G. Allen. I don't think.
no, and they got people are always gonna have their opinions about it. Like, they don't maybe agree with it because of how violent he was towards people. You know, and but some of the stuff that you see about GG2 is every show was fucking probably crazy, but not he wasn't going to throw his shit at you at every show. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, what for my birthday one year, a guy got me a copy of a video of Gigi Allen playing Richmond, and I think this place called the Metro, and which is like upstairs at this other bar, um, and a small place. And I remember seeing the camera pan to the crowd. It was like 12 people. You know, there was nobody at the gig. So I'm sure they did a lot of tours like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, because they were playing dives and squats and all kinds of like weird clubs or whatever. And he was naked during that show, but he wasn't hurting anyone or doing anything extremely violent. But that's kind of like what at least for me, that's the attraction in artists like that, and that's completely devoid from music today. Is this aspect of danger?
Yeah.
Um, that when you go to a show, like something bad can happen to you. You know? uh, Growing up, even going to hardcore shows, uh, even though I don't agree with this, there was still a lot of like violence at the shows, violence in the pit. There was a lot of guys that were there to really hurt people, and then when you would hear these rumors like, oh, well, so and so, this band plays, and they bring fucking some of their fans bring bats and shit, and you're like, fuck, so like, should I even go to this thing? And then
Right.
you got like tough guys who want to fucking go, and um, that I mean, it's interesting. I wouldn't say that stuff should be
Yeah.
safe or promoted at all because I don't think anybody should go to a show and get your fucking teeth knocked out. Like that's bullshit. But I keep won't stay on there for too long. But I did see a band in Richmond a couple years back. It's called Hellbent Hooker, and the reason I really liked it is because the guy was a friend of mine, Blake, plays in the band, plays guitar, amazing guitar player, and the singer is like this New York guy, and he said something on the microphone about like doing coke and or whatever, like or somebody bringing him coke. He was like, "Yeah, I'm not really being funny, like serious, just fun," you know. It was just kind of bizarre. And then, so as he's singing the song, he pulls his dick out, balls and everything, and he's rubbing the microphone all over it and singing and stuff. And then wearing like leather pants or some shit. And it's a small club, and he's singing on the floor. I think the band's playing on the floor. It wasn't really a stage. And then he starts walking around with his dick out and balls out and everything, and singing and getting real close to people. And motherfuckers were backing up. It was funny. It's like it wasn't assaulting anyone, but that was cool. It was like that was the danger. Like, is this guy's dick gonna touch me at the fucking show? And I also really, really liked turning around and looking at the sound guy whose microphone it was. It was just pissed. That's my microphone.
I'd say
that guy's
so.
dicked up balls all over. So
I'd say that mic went in the trash that night.
So I applaud them for keeping rock and roll real and dangerous. But in what ways can you really do that without getting canceled or really crossing the line? It's like it's a fine line.
I instantly thought about that chick singer who pissed on a fan on stage.
That was amazing. That was amazing on so many levels. And dude, they had to apologize for that shit. And she's facing like fucking criminal charges and lawsuits. Man, come on, dude. It's like I saw the video. We were playing there the very next night on that stage. So it's like we were just looking at our phones on the way to that or after our show that like it's like, oh man, you see this? Like, you see what just happened? And I don't know. I think it's great. What two consenting adults do with the privacy of live, 100,000 people.
Yeah.
But and dude, it's so many things have just clipped the balls from fucking the rock industry. One of them is like, so okay, I can see both sides. There's a lot of minors there. Probably didn't public nudity or whatever. It would have been probably a lot more offensive if a guy whipped out his dong and just started pissing on somebody, which I thought would have been funny as well.
Yeah.
But just the daringness to fucking do that, and the fact that the guy thought it was great. Everyone fucking talked about it. But then now, booking agents, sponsors, the club promoters, whoever owns the land the venue is on, I think it was was it Daytona Speedway or some shit?
I don't know.
So she's not ever allowed to come back to that complex. One. Then whoever the promoter was or the concert organization, there's so many. I don't remember who did this one. I don't even remember the name of that show. But they're not going to be allowed to play that run of festivals anymore. And then, but all this stuff is so incestuous, right? So yeah. I mean, have you looked at a summer festival lineup and you notice, and you're like, Priest, Korn, Slipknot, whatever, and it's whoever the bands are, but it's like the same 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 bands are on this one, and the same ones are on this one and this one. It's all the same network of people. It's just different names for different festivals and shit. But it might as well all be the same one. So now it's like she's cut herself out of all these for just being being expressive as an artist. So I don't know. But then again, if there are no consequences for shit like that, then why is it dangerous to even do it in the first place? Why is it shocking? So
right.
It's kind of like, But I don't know. I guess the only thing I disagree with was the band not backing her up wholeheartedly after that, and just being like, "Yeah, we did it. We stand behind her." But they're all looking out for their careers too. Everyone's trying
Right.
to be safe.
They immediately next day announce a new tour called the Yellow Tour or something.
I mean, embrace it.
Yeah.
Especially if you're gonna get in trouble, you might as well just fucking own it.
Yeah.
Backpedal. One more life lesson.
They
Don't
start
don't
selling
step
their
backwards. When you guys fuck up out there in life and shit, you can own your mistake without backpedaling. You can admit you're wrong, or you can admit that something was, I should have done better. I should have said that, um, without like completely bending over backwards and asking for apologies and stuff. Because when you do that, when you stumble and fall, motherfuckers will eat you alive. And that's just the way the world works. I mean, just look at anybody who's like faced any type of controversy with any, whether it's right or it's wrong. The motherfuckers that just say, I don't, hey, I get it. I made a mistake and I did something wrong, but I don't care what you think. I'm still going to keep producing my TV show or whatever it is. I'm still going to keep touring. You notice that all those people just don't stop. They just keep going. There's a little bit of a dip here and there, but it's the motherfuckers that like try and win back your respect and your sympathy. And oh my God, I'm a human being. I just said something. It's like those are the motherfuckers that just get like destroyed. They can never pick it back up.
I have to agree. I mean, we've seen it more often than not.
Roseanne was a funny show. God
right?
damn it. We were so close to getting a new Roseanne. Roseanne shined a spotlight on what Middle America was dealing with. And she spoke what a Middle American would think in their un-PC fucking terms, and her ass handed to her for. It's not as funny without her. God damn it, I wanted to see Dan Connor in his old age.
God, I love that Roseanne is the line. Like that's the line in the sand.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I get it. I really do. And it's weird. Like, I know you're a dad, same as me. I got 2 boys, and it's like I'm kind of trying to navigate how I want to bring up my kids in this world that I'm having a hard time keeping up with. I'm only 30, and I have a hard time keeping up with shit. And I've always considered myself, pretty open-minded. On the social side, fairly like, I guess, liberal, but it's getting so ridiculous these days. It's hard to keep up. It's like you feel like everything's wrong, and it's like, what can we do?
Yeah, I get that.
But,
My 2 girls are young, but I do have a son who's 18, and that whole, I'm just kind of like, you're on your own. I mean, like, seriously, it's like this whole, we didn't have Tinder, fucking, we went to the bar and got fucking hammered, and it's just like, we took home a lot of beasts, and it's,
Jesus,
you didn't get to swipe right, to pick through, to wade through this whole one. You just had to fucking cast a line out there, and sometimes you got what you got. It wasn't good, but
sometimes you got a bottom feeder.
So to that point of being an 18-year-old out in the world today, the shit that we didn't follow us forever. It's like we didn't have Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that. We made a lot of fucking mistakes, and the only thing that's really bad about that is like, just you're losing the ability to grow as a person, to get a second chance, to go back and say, I shouldn't have done that. I was less of a person back then. Now, since that, like we were saying, that snapshot would follow you forever. You don't get to fucking grow. You don't get the opportunity to evolve, and that's what I think is dangerous about having or just being in an 18-year-old mind. Because man, I don't think about it. I don't think the same way about damn near anything that I did at 18.
Yeah.
It's like I thought it would be cool to do a death metal version of Dexy and the Midnight Runners' "Come On Eileen" when I was 18. So
Well, now you have to. You put it out there. Now you're just gonna get like bombarded with requests. Like, hey, where's that "Come On Eileen" cover?
yeah.
No. Well, dude, I think this was a pretty good point to conclude the interview. This was a lot of fun. I think this is one of the most I've laughed at any of these. This was badass and gave us a little bit of insight into the Gwar rig and a little bit of the makings of everything that we've been listening to for, was it 30 years? 30 or 40 years?
Well, Gwar, I kind of consider it like 89, but
Yeah.
I think the lineage goes to 84. I think is for actually formed. Because even in my head, it's funny to be a part of this thing, and they're like, the first album was Hello, and I'm like, no, it's Scumdogs.
Right.
But I feel that way because that's the first one I heard.
Yeah.
And to me, that was like when because they still talk about it in this way, like everyone's supposed to know, like when we're at meetings and stuff, or when we're just talking about songs, it's like saying like, okay, well, everyone knows this song. I'm like, no, they don't. What song is that? What are you talking about? Like they're like, well, it was on Hello, and I'm like, motherfucker, Hello was out of print when I was in school. It was like we
Yeah.
couldn't find that record at the time. It was like you'd go to the record shop and it was like you had Ragnarok and Toilet Earth and fucking uh, Scumdogs.
Yeah.
So it was like I was like, that's a fucking demo. That's to me.
Right.
That's like Pantera's first 4 records. It was
Oh God. Yeah.
like Cowboys was the 5th. But you
Right.
ask anybody else in the world, that's the first one. That's the first one
Yeah.
that broke. That's what everybody remembers.
Yeah.
So,
But well, dude, I can't thank you enough for your time. This has been awesome. I do want to kind of conclude this with like one more like quick little talking point, because I always end these. I always ask our guests for their top 4 death metal, either bands or albums, if whatever is easier.
hell yeah, dude. It's really in my head, dude. It's all the stuff I really first heard, and I think that uh, the '90s and the '80s too, were. But it was a special time for death metal. It really was, because and I don't mean to sound nostalgic, but that was when a lot of that stuff was still new, and
Mm-hmm.
now it's really, really hard to break new grounds in that genre, because it's like you can't write songs about how many songs are you gonna write about killing and torturing someone? It's
Right.
like anything you can think of. It's like you go back, okay, well, Cannibal Corpse already covered that, and they're fortunate enough to like where Cannibal is, that's their genre, that's their theme. You know what I mean? So it's like you can't do that. Like you
Yeah.
just, if you want to be a death metal band, don't cop what they're doing. Come up with something
Mm-hmm.
original. What the fuck do you do? Even like Morbid Angel back then, it was like they kind of started twisting on this weird like religion type of thing, and had all these
Yeah.
fucking words with too many consonants in them and shit that you couldn't pronounce. Like that was cool. It was like
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck he's talking about, but he sounds pissed off about it. I like it. So
Right.
so anyway, with the bands, Obituary, I don't know that I would say that that's my number one, but when it comes to mind, like when I was in high school, that was the shit.
Yeah.
Like everything about it, how heavy it was, how this just the sound of the records, the sound of the fucking kick drum, the guitar tone. I mean, it was like, you know, I didn't know how he was getting that sound. It sounded fucking unique, and still does to this day. It's really unique. And Alan West playing lead guitar, just those things really influenced me as a player, or and not so much writing, but just soundscape stuff like those uh just those big swells with the whammy bar and shit that Alan West
Mhm.
used to do. It was just really fucking cool. But
Yeah.
World Demise is my favorite record. It's just because you talk about originality in death metal. To me, that's it. You know, it's like there is a lot of elements on that record that you won't find on other death metal records, like samples, uh, where they picked certain rhythms from. Just like there's like a fucking weird bass drop in one of the tunes, Solid State or something like that. Like the song Paralyzing, when it's like gung 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 gung. There's this weird like sound in it. Like that was fucking cool. Like that they added all this stuff to that record, and nobody does that shit anymore. It's fucking boring. So anyway, that's one. Uh, two, Sepultura. You know, always uh have this just in my head like that's what like a metal band should be. You know, because I went to the record store young. I was picking out tapes and shit. I didn't have a CD player, so we just had cassette tapes and stuff. And it was all so new. It was like, well, I don't know what to pick. So you're looking at the covers, going like, okay, well, this sounds cool. And okay, Pantera, that's probably heavy, but I don't know if it's like death metal. And Sepultura, a kid in school has that written on his backpack in whiteout. He's got long hair. Okay, so that's probably cool. And it's like, so I got, I think Beneath the Remains first, and it was just kind of taken back by the speed of the whole thing. You know, it's just kind of relentless. And man, this shit's probably the tape's probably sped up just a hair, because it's if you ever play guitar to it, it's not in tune. You know, they
Okay,
had
I got
tuners back then. And
it.
even Master Puppets is sped up. They recorded it, dropped guitars tuned
Yeah.
down, sped up the tape afterwards to have a tighter performance. Bullshit, yeah, but it's true. Um, but anyway, yeah, Beneath the Remains, sped up or not, the tunes are fucking great. If you, it's even better later on when you listen to the recordings and then playing live, those
Hmm.
same tracks live, like Inner Self. It's like it's kind of like the gloves come off, and all of a sudden now it's like it's way more heavier because they're into it. The sound is much more open, not confined to the studio and shit.
Hmm.
So that's I've been trying to recreate a record like that my entire career because I just even though it may not be full of catchy songs front to back.
Yeah.
Um, I mean the first like two are the shit, Inner Self and the title track, but uh, yeah, dude, I mean, just the crazy acoustic intro thing, and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, it's so pretty, and then all of a sudden it comes out of nowhere. I mean, that's sick. It's fucking sick. And the next track, in herself, it's just mid tempo, that it's a good offset from like you speed, you bring it back down, and then you kind of go off, and then that band would go on to do amazing things, you know, Arise and shit. Then
Sure.
like again with originality, they're playing with more soundscapes and more different sounds, and then even Chaos AD kind of expanded that, and then of course you start going off the fucking deep end with Roots, and
Right.
and we all know what happens from there, you know.
Yeah.
But hats off to those guys for doing what they're doing, and it's a shame they couldn't work it out, become a
Yeah.
powerhouse. But that band would have been they were poised to become fucking huge, like real fucking big. And I don't think any of us today really quite understand like how close that was. I mean, like just think about how big Pantera would have been if they would
Yeah.
have reunited. You know, like if they would have ever got back together. I mean, you think that the fucking the Slayer Final Farewell tour was big. It's like Jesus Christ, forget about it. You know, it would have been
Right.
insane. Uh, and so anyway, Salvatore 2. Go with 3. Uh, we just going with death metal, or are we going with just metal in general? We'll stick.
Yeah.
We'll stick with death. Fuck. Um, uh, another good classic like Once Upon the Cross, Deicide. I love that
Ooh,
Deicide shit. They're
it's
just
one of my
heavy.
favorites.
Again, kind of a little scary, you know, like fucking the guy at the weird cross in his
Yeah.
forehead, and when you're a kid looking through the magazine, you're like, Jesus Christ, is this dude for real? Like,
Right.
he's really angry. So yeah,
He
that
really wants to
that
hurt Jesus.
yeah, in the Hoffman, and I know he's got some feud with the Hoffman brothers now, but those riffs were fucking
Yeah.
sick, and
Oh
the
yeah.
sound on Once Upon the Cross was, they couldn't, I don't, it was hard to recapture that again. Just whatever the tonality was, it was fucking sick. The drums sounded great. Um,
Yeah.
and like it was kind of a, to me, a letdown. What was the song with, or what was the next album? Was it Serpents of the Light or something?
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
go from that huge powerhouse of fucking sound to like Servants of the Light, it was like,
Yeah.
Jesus, what happened? You know, like God got you back, your production, you know, for
they
writing all these years.
I felt like they kind of came back. It wasn't the same as Once Upon the Cross, but I thought Scars of the Crucifix was a decent, it was at least a decent send off for the Hoffmans. I know that was their last one, but I think I'm
Yeah.
in the minority on that. I love Scars, but I'm biased because that was my gateway album, and then I
Yeah.
backtracked then after.
Well, they've got, and that's the greatest part about seeing any band live, especially Deicide, is that maybe not anymore because I don't think Glenn even wants to play the Hoffman Brothers material. But when I was seeing them in the band, uh, you know, they played all of this. They had catchy songs for a death metal band.
Really.
Bible Basher, Slave to the Cross,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, Kill the Christian, Once Upon the Cross. It was there was all things you remember like coming away from the gig. Uh, so yeah, I'll always have a soft spot for that. And I got my picture taken with I guess whatever Hoffman had the blonde hair when I was a kid,
Eric.
and Eric.
Yeah.
And oh my God, like I look like a, I've been 6 feet tall my entire, you know, since I was like 15 years old. And
Yeah.
I'm standing beside him, and he's just like his arm is as wide as like my entire body back then. And it was just
Yeah.
he had like a beer can, and his whole hand like covered it. So this is all you saw was like just the little top of it or whatever. Oh, anyway.
They those dudes are monsters.
Yeah.
I actually his brother Brian was fairly active on Instagram, and we talked a good bit. I was trying to get him on the show, then he just kind of fell off. I don't know. Maybe he just got tired of messing with it. Who knows? But
Yeah.
um, did you ever check out the album they put out after they left Deicide?
The Amon, like when they reformed Amon or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
No, I didn't. I want to go back and revisit that stuff. It's just
It's solid. I mean, honestly,
who sang
uh,
it?
just some no name guy. And the dude was kind of pulling a Glenn Benton and playing like, doing double duty with playing bass and doing vocals. But he played like for some reason, I'm picturing him playing like a 5 or even a 6 string bass. And like he shredded on top of having a, a pretty Benton-esque voice on top of everything else. And there's like some footage of like one show that they might have done. That whole thing was kind of weird. They did an album, they did a show, and then nothing else.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was weird, but it's it's actually a little more technical than you would even. I mean, it sounds like them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think they kind of let loose a little bit more than what they might normally. But I mean, it's sick. Liar in Wait is what it's called. But
No foreshadowing.
right?
Yeah. Well, one last thing about Deicide and just being original and everything was, what another thing that I really, really appreciate and still do to this day about Deicide is that the vocals were brutal, but you could make out what he was saying. So like when I was in my first couple
Yeah.
metal bands, I was really, really trying to get that point across, because it was like, yeah, we all love the Chris Barnes vocals on Tomb of the Mutilated. It was really fucking cool. But you
Yeah.
can't understand a single word
No.
out of that at all. Lord Worm from Cryptopsy, not even saying anything. It's just making shit up. And but it's cool for what it is. But then Deicide, it's like he wants you to know that he does not like Christianity. Does a pretty good job of getting it across. And the highs over the lows. That's huge, man. It's like when he did the shrieks with the gutturals like tucked underneath. I mean, these were like, he may not have been the first person to ever do it, but I think like in 1994 it was perfect. Like,
Yeah.
That's the shit. That's the way it's supposed to sound. And yeah, and I guess so. We want to go to number 4.
Yeah.
So we got Obituary, Sepultura, Deicide. I don't know. Those were like my big ones. I would say, I guess as far as records go, I wouldn't say as a whole band, no. But Morbid Angel, and might be surprising, but Formula's Fatal to the Flesh.
That's a great album.
Yeah, so, because most people, they want to go for the older David Vincent stuff. Nothing wrong with that, but
yeah.
I do feel like Formulas was a record kind of on its own.
Yeah.
It's got some fucking weird shit in there. That's the lyrical content I think is cool. The concept is cool, just because it's kind of new territory.
Sure.
How far off the beaten path they got with this. I don't know, Necronomicon, fucking whatever weird shit is in there. The gods with all the consonants in the name. It's unique, and it was almost unbelievable how fast that stuff was. Because even at the time, it was, so I mean, the production, the recording production on Formulas is not good. It's all of the riffs and the parts are discernible. I'll give it that. But as far as like, as far as like, a big pounding kick drum and a huge drum sound and huge bass sound, it's not present whatsoever. So so here in that those blast beats and stuff from Pete Sandoval, it was like, it's like, is he really going that fast?
Right.
It loses a little bit of the impact on speed, I think, because it's not produced very well. But at the same time, it doesn't sound like other records. So I kind of feel like that is a plus and a minus together. It makes it stand out. It makes it stand apart from the other fucking Morbid records. Now, and not to mention just other death metal records at the time.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
Which is hard to get all that information in. Everything's got to fit in a speaker this big and come out on the other side. And the guy's playing 1,000,000 miles an hour, and Steve Tucker singing is I don't know. It's cool. It's very cool. It's cool and unique. It's neat.
Well, dude, just want to thank you. Just want to thank you again so much for coming on the show, dude. This has been a blast, and can't wait to hear the new Gwar record, and hope to see some U.S. Bastard stuff sometime in the near future.
hopefully, I think we want to pioneer the genre of crime metal.
There you go.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Or,
Well, thanks
or
everybody for
crime
tuning
core
in.
as well.
Crime core. There you go.
Yeah, crime core and crime metal, two offsets. Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. As you can see, I like to talk about gear and music. So
Hell yeah. Maybe we'll do it again sometime when the new album comes out or something.
Cool. Hell yeah.
Sweet. Thanks, Brent. You have a good weekend, man.
Bye, you too.
Bye, everybody.